Hey everyone, welcome to the live stream. So glad to have you. It is the first live stream of 2021. Sorry, I'm adjusting camera angles. Um, but yeah, oh, there I went. Hey Lola, so glad to have you. Welcome. Happy New Year. I hope you had a great holiday break. I took a couple of weeks. I was out of my studio and so am back to it and excited to get started this evening. There are a few things that I need to do. I forgot to turn on my um, monitor, so I'm going to do that real quick. How was everybody's holiday? I hope it was good for you and things went well. Let me, as always, please give a shout out in the comments. Say hello. Let me know where you are dialing in from, or dialing in from, where you're watching from. And I will be happy to engage with you on the live stream this evening. My hair's kind of messed up, but it's holiday still for me as a teacher, so I'm kind of sleeping late, going to bed late, painting half the night, um, and just kind of living kind of laid back. So anyway, um, yeah, that's what's going on in my life. So before we get started, I want to kind of bring everybody up to speed with some things I've done in the last several days. I can't remember if I've shown y'all what we worked on. I may have done these during the break and not because I didn't do live streams of all these, but I wanted to show you some of the work as you're coming in to the live stream. Again, those of you that are just joining us, welcome. Please say hello wherever you are joining from. Hi, Eddie. So glad to have you. Thanks so much for checking it out. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, even Twitch, Twitter, wherever you're watching from, I'd love to say hello. So please say hello in the comments wherever you find this live stream. If you want to keep track, especially going into this year, I'm going to be doing some additional content on YouTube. So be sure you jump over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. You can follow not only these weekly live streams, but I'm going to start producing. I've given those of you on the live stream an update or kind of a preview. I'm going to start producing, I'm hoping, weekly videos on the creative process. What I'm learning kind of in real time. These will be sort of pseudo, maybe philosophical concept, practical. I hope to be able to take these concepts outside of art, outside of painting, and make them applicable to everyday life. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, but it'll evolve like these things do. But if you want to follow that, definitely subscribe on YouTube so you can keep track of that content as well. So in the last few weeks, I did this painting. It's the first time I've done a flower painting from a reference that I belong to a Facebook group of photographers that make their photos available to reference or to artists to paint. So I worked on this. This was a fun one. I'm still not quite satisfied with it, but it's pretty and it was fun to work on. But that was a fun one. Hi there, Mom. So glad to have you. And I assume Dad is watching over your shoulder. So glad to have you on the live stream. I also did this one. My friend Bob had sent me a picture from the Arkansas River. So I live about 6 blocks off the Arkansas River here in Little Rock, and this was sunset on the river. So I did this, I think, in the last couple of weeks. This was another one I worked on, um, and it was just a fast one. I didn't do a lot of detail work, but I think it turned out kind of nice, a nice little piece. That's one I worked on over the holiday break as well. And then the last one I did was this one. My friend Abby took this picture in the forests of Washington. Um, hey there, thanks for joining. So glad to have you. Appreciate you checking out the live stream. I do these live streams are, as most of you know, kind of open house, just pop in, pop out. So, but this was a picture that my friend Abby took in Washington State. Beautiful kind of stream, mountain stream running through the hills, and so it was kind of a larger canvas than I usually work on, but it was a lot of fun to work on. I noticed as I'm painting that with both of these, the one I just showed you and this one, that my paintings are progressing. They're getting better and better as I go. However, I'm noticing that they're still a little flat, and I'm not sure what. I was getting to a place where I wasn't sure how I could improve this. I could look at the photo reference and I could look at this and see this is a beautiful painting, but there were just things that weren't lining up, and I couldn't figure out how to improve my painting. And so, one of the things that I came across was the concept of values versus colors. So, we think about a painting like this, and you look at, obviously, you can see there's a lot of different color variations. And when I first started painting, you'll remember if you were here from the beginning that I focused a lot on color mixing, and that was a challenge for me early on. It still is a challenge, but I've gotten much better at mixing realistic colors so they um, look good on a painting. One of the things that is overlooked, or that I had overlooked, I didn't understand or know, was the difference of values. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. That's what I'm going to work on. And I've been working on the last couple of days. So, by way of illustration, in explaining values, I want to kind of um, give you some perspective on what this. Here, I'm just throwing all the art terms on you. So, um, when you think about values, values are the differences in shade of a color. So, the darkness, lightness, and all the variations in between. And one of the ways that I came across an exercise an art teacher said he challenges his students to do is to take a subject, like the one behind me, this butterfly, or he took a picture of Mark Twain, and try to paint that with a very limited palette, meaning very few colors, and none of them can be colors that are in the original painting. So you just have a range of light, darks to lights, and you try to create the same or the same composition with different colors. So, example of this was one that I did recently of some piano keys that I thought turned out pretty well. This is the painting I did of some piano keys. Notice, obviously, it's greens and maroons and yellows and some browns. If I hold it really close to the camera, you can kind of see. Notice the variations in the values. The light values on the top of the keys versus the darker values on these sides of the keys. The difference in value here to here is not just color, but it's the value. So there's a phrase in the art world that values do all the hard work, colors get all the credit. So this is an example. Let me show you some examples of this concept that didn't work out for me. So I wanted to paint this dog. And if you follow me on Instagram or other social media, you may have seen this cute little pup that I painted that was shades of green. It was all shades of different greens and blues. This was my first attempt, and it turned out great until I stepped back and looked at it and realized that the dog looked kind of like a phantom or a ghost dog. Um, Thanks so much for joining. I appreciate you stopping by. Definitely look forward. I'll also check out your stream when I get off stream. Thanks so much for popping by. So I painted this dog and realized it looked like a ghost dog. So I thought, well, let me go in and change the colors using the same values. And so I tried that, and not working so much. I may go back to this. It's not terrible. I mean, I haven't finished it. I wanted to start turning it kind of reds and pinks and purples. Um, but I just want to show you that not everything I do looks good. I don't, like most people, post all the horrible things that I paint on social media. So this is maybe still in process. I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to it or not. I convinced myself I could do what I wanted to with it, so I may just paint over it. Um, but yeah, that's a bad one. Then the next one I tried to do, you see right behind me. Um, Again, that same kind of color palette. It was supposed to be um, images of citrus fruits with varying different. Actually, I think I still have the black and white picture behind me. Nope, there's the puppy. I didn't. Okay. Um, but yeah, just didn't turn out. I may go back to it, may not. Um, but all of that to say, this is what we're going to try to do this evening. So, what I'd like to do, let me jump back over to my um, while I'm looking, I'll look down at you. What I'd like to do this evening is a similar painting, similar concept, and explore this concept with you all this evening, this idea of values. So you'll notice behind me is the butterflies. I'm going to bring this up on your screen as well so you can see what I'm looking at. You can see this. I've created it black and white. Now on the screen behind me, it looks like there's some color, but that is just the screen. That is just my screen. So let me actually, whoops, move it more this way so you can see. So I'm going to be referencing this. You'll have it up in the right-hand corner of your screen so you can kind of see what's going on. Let me actually go over here. Like I said, I wasn't entirely ready for stream tonight to set up. I didn't even unwrap my canvas yet, so let me do that. Hey there, Bob G. Thanks so much for joining. Glad you could pop in. Hope you're staying warm on this kind of dreary day in Little Rock. Most of the Midwest is getting rain, so I guess we're lucky that, or getting snow. I guess we're lucky that it's staying rain here in Arkansas. Okay, let me just move that down a little bit. It's not going to do anything. I don't use it to hold the. All right, all right, all right. 2021, here we go. So I'm going to pull you all closer. Pardon the rocky bumps. That way you can look over my shoulder. And let's take a look. Let me kind of move this so it's more direct on, hopefully. Okay. There we go. Hey there, Max. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So glad to have you. Appreciate you joining the live stream. All right. I was telling everybody, Max, not sure if you were in here, but we're working on value, value as a concept versus just color. So tonight, what I'm going to do, oh, great. Have a good one, and we will catch you this year. I hope you had a good New Year, and look forward to everything you have planned for the coming year. We'll have to catch up and chat more in the coming months. Have a good one. All right. So everybody, what we're going to do first is select a very limited palette. So by limited, let's pick about 4 colors that are different colors than what we imagine. I don't even remember what this plant is or what this butterfly is. If you want to suggest some colors, throw out some colors that, or just color families that you think would be interesting, and they should or can be widely different than you would think would naturally appear in this picture. Let's do some different colors, kind of like we did with the green dog or the pink dog or the blue dog. Anybody want to suggest some colors before I dive in and pick some? What colors do you want to see? What colors would you like to see in this painting? Any suggestions? Any suggestions? Everyone's being quiet now. The room got silent. Maybe I talked too much at the beginning. Any color suggestions, anybody? If not, I will be happy to pick some. All right. Since I'm not hearing anything from my astute peanut gallery, I shall pick... Lola, you read my mind. Look at that. The first one I put, we're on the same wavelength. Right there on the palette. Bright green. Almost a neon green. It's called green yellow. With that, let's pick some light yellow. Cadmium light. And let's do some... Oh, since we're yellows and greens, let's do orange. How about that? Oh, pink. Pink. Okay. Yeah, we can do it. That'll give us some... I have out of the bottle pink. We may have to mix some pink if I run out, though. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. This is what I have on the palette. Pink, yellow, light yellow, and green. Let's do another, quote, dark color that might be really weird. We may or may not use it, but let's do kind of a neon palette tonight. Not neon, but green, pink, yellow, and green. Or orange, pink, yellow, and green. How's that? Orange, pink, yellow, green, and then I have black and white over here. Okay, so first thing we want to do is look at our reference photo and look at these differences in the values. That's what we're really looking for. Where are our darkest values? Where are the darkest values in this picture, everybody? Where do you see the darkest values? Where are the darkest values? Where are the darkest values? Yes, ma'am. Lola says in the wings. Yes, we have dark values right here. Notice how it is not just the wings. The darkest values are on these parts of the wings, and the lighter value, because of how the light shines, notice how they get lighter out towards the edges of the wings. Look at your reference on your screen and you can see this more precisely. So our deepest values are closest to the body because the light is reflecting differently there than it is on the external part of the wings. This is what's important. This is why this kind of exercise is so important. Notice we also have dark values here in the shadows under these flowers. There's dark values down in there as well. And there's different values, so there's lighter there. So let's start with just this butterfly. Let's start with the wings of the butterfly. And what we want to do is begin to put in our values very broadly. I'm going to purposely try to avoid painting the image I see, which is the challenge. I'm trying to paint the values that I see instead of the image I see. So let me go in here and take one of our darkest values, which is our darkest colors, which is the pink. Let's take the pink and let's go in here and start putting our values in. Putting our where we see the darkest values. So I see something right in there, kind of. And then I'm going to put this, probably starting too little. I'm going to put like just some paint for the body of this animal here. Let me zoom this in a little bit. Okay. And we'll see if this works. It may, at the end of this, we may have a mess like I did on my other paintings. We shall see. We shall see. It's a different way of painting because before I was trying to get as realist as possible. Hey there, Michael. Thanks so much for joining. We are trying an experiment tonight with painting. We are trying an experiment with painting. Okay, so here y'all see kind of my interpretation of where the values are heaviest in this particular painting. Okay, we have a little. Notice as we go through this how now I want to take this dark value up in here into my shadows. I have some in kind of there. There's some in here. Remember, again, I'm painting just the values, no images, just values, which is the shading of the darkness of the shading, the most saturated. All right. As we go through this, what should happen is we should begin to see the image appear from where we're placing the colors here. As we paint, again, just paint values. So, I want to go in here. This is imperfect, but it gives us an idea. The good thing is we can always change it. Okay, so I don't know if you have ever heard of, I think this was attributed to Michelangelo, I want to say, talking about how he sculpted, and I mean, this is a paraphrase, but he basically said, I sculpt away I remove the stone until the image appears. That's what we're kind of doing here. Let's see, where does our image appear? Okay, now, our darkest values, at least the start, is where it is, okay? You kind of see these dark values popping out. Now, what I want to do is I want to go in and start putting in the same colors, not the same colors, but where the wings are. I'm going to move you a little bit. Okay, so see where the wings change the values here, closer to the end. Let's put that in as a different color. So we're going to let's take a lighter value. In this case, I'm going to go down to and take the orange, okay? It's still the dark color of my palette. And the goal with this exercise is to use the values by not mixing colors as little mixing of colors as possible. Some mixing will happen, of course, because they're on the canvas together and that happens. So there will be some mixing, which is fine. And this orange is not, it's dark, but it's not very dense. So I may have to go back and do another layer of this, or I may, you try things and they don't work. Nope, that's not going to work. I was like, let me see what happens if I mix a little. Probably because orange is not, well, pink isn't really a primary color, but it is the red in the pink really covers. I'm going to mix just a little tad. I don't want to mix a lot of paint, but I'm going to mix a little white with this orange just so that it blend, or that it covers better. Okay, so oh, I already messed up. Do you see what I did? I'm painting the image I see. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to try to figure this out. Okay, I painted the image I see instead of painting the value. Okay, so let's be conscious again. This is where the value, I'm looking right here on this wing. This is where the value starts to change, is out here on the tip of this wing. So there's where I want, where the light shines. And then it really changes, the value changes out here on the wing, right? All the way out here. Then this whole end kind of, that's not good. It's very challenging. This is really a fun exercise to try to figure this out. Okay, let's go back over here. Let's look consciously. Okay, here is, this should have been the bottom of the wing. Hey there, Chase. Happy New Year. So glad to have you. All right. So let's look at this wing here where the value changes is right there. And I think right in here is the value change on these. Yeah. Okay. This, I am not happy with this, but we're going with it. We're going to trust the process. All right. Whoops. If I try to look at this how I have been in the past, where I'm trying to paint the image as it appears, I'm actually feeling it in my chest. Like I'm feeling a little bit like stressed out because I'm not controlling this image, and I can look at it and say, oh, it's way off. It looks very flat. It looks very two-dimensional, and it's kind of driving me crazy. But what I'm trying to do and intending to do is to make my eye, or help my eye adjust to seeing values almost before colors. Because then when I go back to colored painting, a colored subject, my eye will clue into the values first. That's the intent, at least. That is the intent. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this. And I wanted to do it before I practiced it too much, just so y'all can see the process and see how bad I am at it. Okay. So and how challenging it is with just a few colors to represent the difference in values, how challenging it can be to make your eye, like I don't have unlimited colors to play with, right? So have to try to make this work. Let's see. Ooh. Okay. Now, the lightest values I see obviously are in the wings here. So let's go in with our yellow. Let's see if this is dry. It is pretty much. Okay, our yellow, that's doing the same thing as the orange. It's too opaque. Wonder if I can take some, maybe some cad yellow and mix it with the bright yellow. Even though I don't like to mix because of the exercise, not going to be the total purist today, okay? We will mix some cad yellow and see if that covers better. Okay, so this, nope, it's not covering. Well, it's an experiment. Yeah, that's not good at all. Hot mess is what we're gonna call this piece. Hot mess, y'all. Messy, messy, messy. Okay. The good thing is we can always come back to this. Okay. Mess, mess, mess. Okay. Probably should have picked a different colors, but that's all right. All right, when we look at what's happening with these values, now the values in the flowers over here under the butterfly are different values than these. These are lighter values, right? So we need to figure out a way to demonstrate those lighter values but still show the variation in them. The variation in them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, of my two light colors, yellow and green, I'm going to take the green for the darkest value places. Again, I'm doing the same process. So watch this flower. Let's see if we can make this flower kind of appear. I'm going to take some little more solid green because it's a we're getting too much neon and it's too opaque again. All right, so let's go in. I'm looking at these shadows specifically in the flowers, in the flower here. Let me go the bottom of this. We see some there, there. And in there. There's a big shadow area right there. Then just a little more. Okay, I'm putting this shadow down here in the right-hand corner in as green because it's still a light around the dark. And I want to take some lighter green there. This. Okay. Need to bring some more. All right. We'll continue around this. Some there. Again, I'm just focusing on the shadow, focusing on the value, not the color so much, or the shape. I'm not trying to draw the shape of the image. One of the keys that I've realized with this type of exercise that it's being patient enough to be able to lay in layers as they dry. You're constantly adjusting values. This, I think there's like, this is relatively complex because you have basically two subjects on top of each other. You have the flowers in the background, and you have and the leaves, and then you have the butterfly, which needs to stand out from its background. I think what truly makes this exercise work, what I should have done, is do just a uniform background and then do the butterfly in the colors. But I think it's still instructive for me to try this because you learn things like, oh, I shouldn't have done it this way. Yeah, so that's what I'm going through right now. I'm learning, oh, yeah, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So adding some of this shadow area up here. It's different than just the pink, so I'm trying to. We'll see. Like I said, this may just end up being a mess, but all of it is part of the learning process, right? I always tell my students that if you're willing to be bad at something, you can be good at it. If you're willing to be bad at it, then you can be good at it. That's a great suggestion, Lola, and you'll see that I'm kind of starting to cheat already, which you may have already noticed just as an artist. I am blending a little bit of these colors that are next to each other, like the green and the yellow, and then the pink and the orange to create some variation in the values. So we'll see. I think that's going to be necessary to create anything that looks relatively decent from the standpoint of an actual painting. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Lola, have you ever done any sort of exercise like this, or have you tried anything kind of a limited palette exercise? Yeah, this is not working for me. I think it's mostly because um, the paint is not like it doesn't cover, like the pinks are too dark. Ah, cool. Was it as challenging for you as it is for me? This is where you just gotta let your embarrassment hang. Just gotta let it hang out, cause and I was kind of excited to try this with y'all to see if it would work. Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, the exercise that the art teacher that I saw this that suggested this, he did, as I said earlier, image of Mark Twain, and maybe it's easier for a portrait. I don't know. It looked pretty cool. Let's see. I'm extending this a little bit just because um, my picture doesn't, or my reference doesn't go all the way out to the edges of my canvas. Let's do, yeah, I kind of did this with the painting of the piano keys I showed y'all earlier too. I I got in so far, and then my artist eye kind of cheated and started mixing colors, but it ended up with a prettier painting. So I still think the exercise is really. I'm going to continue to play around with this type of exercise. Yeah, I agree with you. I think as I get this laid in here, and once this all dries, then I'm going to go back in and lay in more layers of the darks because I think you're absolutely right. You know what I'm realizing I probably should have done, y'all, is chosen a set of darks and lights, like 3 colors for the background and 3 colors for the butterfly. That is one thing I think I should have done. Now I'm just kind of messing around to see what I need to do, where I can create, and we'll get there. What will be interesting at the end is to be able to sit back and say, oh, yeah, that's recognizable. Which is something I'm still learning to do. Um, this may not make sense, but basically to trust that moment in a painting where you're just like, oh my gosh, this is completely off the rails and it's just a mess. But when I step back, I think you guys are zoomed back as far as you go. Like when you step back, you're like, okay, there is some image starting to come out of this. Like there's some, yeah, there's something. Not sure exactly what it is, but there's something coming out here. And all this like loose brush work that I'm doing, or brush strokes, maybe I can zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see it. I'm muddying the water. It's the same, this is all the same basic 4 colors I have, but I am mixing them obviously, or allowing them to mix before they dry on the palette, or on the canvas, as you can see. So I'm being less strict about where things are on the canvas. Trying to fix these values a little bit and get them to a place where I recognize them. Creating a bit of mud here. Okay. Let me step back. Take a look. Okay. Ba, ba, ba. All right, I'm going to put y'all on mute and use my handy dandy air dryer to dry this just a minute. All right, back with you. Okay. Now let's look at what we've done well and what we have not done well. And I don't know that I'm in a place to say either way. Okay. I definitely want the butterfly to stand out from the background. So I think being more precise with some of this now might be helpful. She kind of lies right in there, her body, then her body extends out. I may be making this worse, but we'll see. Now we're coming back with another layer of kind of the on top of the orange, the pink to emphasize some of these again value differences. I have not heard of that. I will have to check it out, Chase. Thanks for the suggestion. I will look into it for sure. Hmm. All right, so what I'm doing now, at least this is what's going on in my head. Because I know y'all are just watching me. Thanks, Bob. I don't yet. Um, Part of it, I think, success, which is where I mentioned I'm going to be doing more videos, like kind of talking head videos on thought process and kind of the philosophy of this. One of the reasons I think that I am improving as I am is because I'm just persistent, which obviously there's all sorts of applications and lessons that could be derived from that. Um, but it's continuing to like not walk away from a project, like not walk away from this when it looks like a mess like this. Um, I may still walk away at the end of the night and be like, well, that was fun, but it didn't work. Um, but I think it can. And it's figuring out, like, part of the thing that I'm working out is okay, I mentioned maybe I should have started with different colors. And Lola, you mentioned that my colors weren't dark enough, like my darks weren't dark enough. And that's what I'm getting to where you recognized it right away. And I'm absolutely getting to that point where I'm saying, "Oh, okay." And you'll notice slowly this canvas is shifting to where the underlying underground here at the top and around the side is turning into shades of green and yellow, with the bright warm being on the butterfly, which I said, oh, I should have probably chosen different colors. Um, and this is a decision I'm slowly testing and figuring out, iterating through. It's kind of like what I teach my students because I teach entrepreneurship, and it's one of the principles I teach my students in problem. Basically, entrepreneurship is problem solving. So, like, can you iterate and can you maintain like your long enough? Can you maintain your business, your runway to survive long enough to allow you to iterate long enough so that you can survive until you come up with the right solution to whatever the problem is that you are seeking to address. And so that's what I'm doing with, in a way with this painting, specifically this one. Can I survive long enough to, and can I solve the problems that are before me in order to create something beautiful out of this? Which is yet to be seen, but I'm seeing ways forward, which are encouraging. So, uh, that's my kickoff of Philosophy 2021, right? One of the mantras I adopted for my life a while ago, though, that guides me is that I figure it out. I figure it out. And I get frustrated when I can't figure it out, whatever it is. And so it's a mantra that has served me well in the past. Let's see. Some undergrowth there. once I get something that is kind of working, then I just come back and try to recognize the pattern other places in the canvas. Isn't that life? Like, recognize what works in one area. And for example, if something works in finances, can I make it work in my personal life or in business or anything? I started this journey mostly almost as therapy, and I'm finding it's becoming more instructive than therapeutic. It's maybe that's what art is. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too philosophical tonight, but it's like maybe it is figuring life out one brush stroke, one decision, one action, one relationship, one conversation at a time. Ooh, that's a great suggestion. You're so brilliant. I'm gonna play with that this week. That idea. I'm gonna start doing that, even if I just look at it on my phone, because then I can. Yeah. I like that. I like that. I like that. Like that idea. Okay, so we're kind of getting some underlying. So I'm doing this dark greenish kind of color for the deep foliage, the lighter yellows for the highlights, yellow greens, darker yellow green but lighter for the leaves in shadow. Oop, I just messed up my butterfly wing. However, this is good because acrylics dry fast. That's just going to be my mantra from now on. Acrylics dry fast. I am so excited to figure out what comes out on the back end of this whole process as I continue to try to develop my skill, develop my perspective, my eye, my own unique interpretation of the whatever the composition is that I'm or the subject matter. Um, I'm really excited to see what emerges on the backside of Steve's all these experiments that Steve is doing with. Now Steve is talking about himself in third person. Should we be afraid, people? No, when I come out on the back end of this, like I'm really excited to see what kind of art I am creating, and maybe there is no back end of this. Maybe it's always the emerging of kind of the artist perspective, and I don't know. But this was always my intention, though, to explore, to play, to grow through various different um, avenues, and then see what comes, see what I develop or see what comes out. Hmm. Okay. All right, we're about an hour and a half in, maybe a half hour more. Work on this and see where we can get it to by the end of the evening. See what we can create. Still not sure what I'm going to do about the flower under the butterfly. Do I just stay with the same green and yellow, greens and yellow palette, or do I introduce a different uh, So over the last few weeks, or well, really the last 2 weeks, I've really been thinking about what I want to do and how I can continue to push myself, obviously, in this art journey. But I'm curious if y'all who are watching have suggestions for, as I continue doing this, what would you like to see more or less of? What would make these or other videos more um, informative or entertaining or fun? Open to all thoughts and suggestions. Because I enjoy just chatting. Like, if I'm going to be painting anyway, I enjoy having y'all around, but I know y'all aren't actually painting these things with me. So, I want to figure out ways I could make it divide up the time or make it more interesting or more engaging. Um, I've been mentioning that I want to get a camera, an overhead camera, so you can see my palette easier and see what I'm mixing. So I'm trying to figure out and get a setup for that. That's an intent I have in the coming months. But what would make these evenings we spend together more fun or more enjoyable? Thanks. I am enjoying this as well. Um, it's working out, isn't it? Compared to where it was. Ugh, that was awful. But it's coming out. It's coming out, and I think it'll be more pretty, even more pretty as I do. There are faster ways to get there, I think, obviously, but it's yeah, it's coming together, or will eventually. That's the fun part to me, and I think honestly that's when I realized, oh, I think, and I've said this before, I think a lot of us, it's easy, like the more I've paid attention to the quote art world, or like people, real quote unquote artists, the more like self-criticism and second guessing there is and all of this. And I get it, like I do, but I think we also get really, really precious and almost elitist or arrogant about the process of art. And I just watched a movie the other night. It was with Meryl Streep. Can't remember the name of the movie, but she's a writer and is an award-winning writer, and she's on a ship across the Atlantic to get an award in Europe for writing this great literary award. And there's another writer on there that's kind of a James Patterson or um, Michael Crichton type, populist writer who's writes a book every 3 months, and she kind of has this like perspective of, I don't know how those types of writers do that, and she kind of looks down on that type of art, um, because it's not, she takes so much time and so much, her method is so different. And I think we can get that way with any type of art where we allow the process to become self-censoring, and we hold up the process, you know, to protect ourselves from our own failure and critique, when it's just like sometimes it's just power through and find what works, and acknowledge what doesn't and walk away from what doesn't. Hmm. Using some fairly aggressive brushstrokes now to go back to where we were at the beginning, laying in some dark areas of the green to suggest petals of this flower that the butterfly is sitting on. We'll see if this technique works. Ooh, that's too dark though. All right. Lola, have you ever heard of the technique of checkering, like a checkerboard? Checkering? I there was a video, a tutorial I was watching, a lecture. An art teacher was last night. I was watching it, and he talked about this. And I'm trying to do it right here, but basically, what he said is your subjects will seem more integrated if you checker kind of light and dark. So, like here, I started lighter because there's a darker kind of background. Then, as I got on here, it's almost the same value. So, I actually, these two greens are two different. Um, Actually, neither do I. That's why I was questioning. I don't know. This apparently is a technique that old kind of illustrator he said the people who used to paint the covers for like Louis L'Amour novels, probably like back in the early 1900s, would use this. But basically, as you go around a subject, you checker light and dark variations of the same values, the same colors, and it integrates your painting into your subject into the painting better. And I don't know. I've never tried it other than I was like, oh, I'm coming up on an area where it's blending too much into the same tone of background. Let me see if I can do this. And I don't know that it's working necessarily, but it's interesting to try different things. All right, we got about 5-10 minutes left, and this painting is long from complete, but we've come a long way from where we were, haven't we? Definitely come a long way from where we started. So we'll keep working on this. I still have a feeling it's going to be really something nice once it's done. A lot of this has been just covering up all that kind of brownish red and orange we had done underneath. Still not totally covering as it dries. You can see now where this is dry, it's starting to show through again. So I may have to do 2 or 3 coats to get it to actually come together. Marshall, maybe we can exchange services. You can help me build a house and I can fill it with artwork. No, the funny thing is, it's the same set of skills. I was saying earlier, I don't know if you were on here, but I was talking about teaching students entrepreneurship. It's really, a lot of it is just problem solving in the moment. Like when I started this painting, it still is kind of a hot mess. And it's been 2 hours of iteration to get it to where it is, and it'll be another 5 or 6 hours over time of working on it to improve it to get it to where it needs to be. Bob, that's kind of you to say. I was thinking about that. It's definitely, this whole process, this whole journey has definitely improved my mental health and well-being as wherever you all are, some of you are here in Arkansas, we continue to have terrible struggles with COVID out of control. And it's finally hitting me personally. I've gone quite some time, 10 months into this pandemic, without significant impact to me personally, which I'm lucky to have that. But now I'm starting to have closer and closer friends and acquaintances and family dramatically impacted by this. And so definitely, as we head into a new school semester on Monday, back into the classroom, I'm definitely mindful of keeping my mental health a priority, as well as that of my students. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Lola, actually, I am going to do that once we're offline, because I use my phone as a camera, as one of the camera feeds for this live stream. I'm going to actually take your advice and definitely do that, and kind of look at it, how it compares, even at this stage of development, like where it is. It's definitely a great suggestion. Down to the last 3 minutes here. I want to thank you all for joining me again in this new year. I'm excited about continuing to explore and grow in 2021, continue to make better and better art, to push myself, my abilities, my capabilities, expand my skills in this new year. I want to say thank you to each of you for the encouragement along the way. Someday I look forward to looking back and remembering these quaint live streams, perhaps when we have 30, 40, 50, 100 people joining to watch, and maybe not. Maybe it'll never get that big, but it will be fun, wouldn't it? And I'll remember those of you that were here at the beginning and saw, before I could really paint, you saw the awful things I created, like this, and you see me work through it. You will have seen the real deal. Nope. So I will continue working on this. I'm going to post on Instagram my the black and white of this, so you can kind of see on Instagram after I get off this live stream. So feel free to pop over there and check it out. If you're not following me there, please feel free to do so. I would love to have you join me on Instagram and keep track of what I'm doing. As always, if you don't follow me or aren't watching this on YouTube, please jump over there and subscribe. Keep informed of what's kind of going on. As I said, in this next year, I want to do more video specific to the artistic process, applying that to our real lives, like, and problem solving in the real world. What have I learned through this artistic process that can be extrapolated and extricated to bring value in real life circumstances and situations? And so I'll be putting some of that content out on YouTube as well. So if you want to see that and follow kind of my thought process and what I'm learning along the way, my ramblings, please do subscribe there. All right. We are getting to the end of our time. So I am going to begin to say adieu to you and you and you. No, my awful French. Hopefully, Marshall, you're not still listening. You know how badly my French pronunciation is anyway. All right. I'm going to call it quits. I'll probably keep painting a little bit, but I want to again say thank you to all of you for joining me this evening. It's been a lot of fun working on this, trial and erroring my way through 2 hours of this, and I appreciate those of you that stayed along for the journey. It's been a great time. I hope you had a wonderful holiday and a great start to 2021. Looking forward to hopefully our social and civic situations and public health situations improving in the months to come. But I appreciate each of you joining me. look for another episode next weekend, Saturday evening, 7 p.m. Central Time. And we will see you next time. I'm going to start scheduling these out a month at a time so you can go on YouTube and if you subscribe, you can set notifications, reminders. If you'd like to join or remind, I put them out on social media as well so you can keep track there. But I'm going to try to be a little more organized this year and standardize this. So I appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining me and have a great evening, everybody. We will see you next time.